Irreverent, entertaining, cool. You're listening to LA Talk Radio.
You're listening to Female Filmmakers Fuse with Alexa Polar, only on LA Talk Radio.
Thank you for tuning in. This is your host, Alexa Polar, with Female Filmmakers Fuse. Today, I have a very special treat. I have Brendan, who's joining me again, my nephew.
What's up, guys? Hello.
And, okay, I'm really excited about this. Rosie, oh my God. Okumura. I didn't want to mess it up. We did, and I failed.
No, I meant like us both saying it.
Okay.
That's how it was supposed to happen.
Sweet. You can come closer to the mic or bring the mic closer to you. So that's Rosie. Rosie's going to be our guest co-host today. Real quick, you can catch us always live every Sunday at 12 noon at LA Talk Radio, and also on their app if you have their app. Afterwards, you can catch us on any of the podcast streaming. I'm really messing this up. Podcast streaming, like Google Play, Apple Podcasts, iTunes, whatnot, wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Spotify too?
Spotify, I think so. I'm not sure, but for the most part, all the main ones, I think we're on there.
Nice.
Yeah, we try. Callers, if you want to call in, it's 818-602-4929, 818-602-4929. Let's get this started. So real quick, I'm kind of like out of it today, meaning like we're going to be discussing things I don't normally discuss. Weed, for example, I'm so not like, that's not my thing, but I'm not against it. So I'm going to learn a lot today, because our special guest is, hang on one sec. It's
Mareesa.
Mareesa Stertz.
Yeah, you got this.
Thank you. Hi, Mareesa, are you there?
I'm here.
Okay. So you are a filmmaker and you do pretty much like a documentary style, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So real quick, so today our show, we have, you're our special guest, and we have a special co-host guest who is Rosie. And so I want to discuss a few things here, because just so you know, Maresa, so Rosie documents pretty much how they slide into the DMs.
Yes.
Okay.
So I take.
I'm sorry. Say that again. What?
How they slide into the DMs. So she go ahead, Rosie, our co-host for what's.
Well, it's hard to describe what I do. It's just kind of a little side hobby or lifestyle, really, because I do it a lot. But anytime anyone DMs me on Instagram with like inappropriate stuff, you can figure that out. Bullying or harassers or scammers that are trying to, do some kind of weird wire transfer scam and stuff like that on, either my Instagram or other people's, or sometimes I even look up numbers on this little forum that people share of all these scammers' numbers, and I just basically.
You know what, Rosie? It's impossible to hear you. You're very far away.
Oh, let's bring the microphone closer.
How's this? Is this better? I'm like against it.
Yeah.
I don't know. Okay.
There you go. That's it.
So in a nutshell, I take down any kind of like online scammers or harassers, and I turn the tables and make fun of them, or take screenshots of our conversations and make a fool of them and then make it public. So.
Yeah. So anyone that's listening, where could they find that Instagram? And we'll get back to that towards the end of the show.
Yeah. It's Receipts. So it's spelled receipts, but with an O instead, like RO for my initials.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah. So now with you, Mareesa, I don't want to, thank you. I feel like I'm going to totally mess I'm so sorry.
Mareesa. Just
Mareesa.
like Teresa.
There you go. Yeah. It's going to take me a minute.
She hasn't had her coffee yet.
That's what it was. You deal with something that's very interesting. And it's interesting to me because I totally support it, especially because I have family members that it helps them out with when it comes to their health and wellness. And it's an alternative, and I think it's amazing. Me personally, like, I suffer from migraines, like harsh, like, I mean, I've ended up in the hospital several times, and I've always had someone come up to me and say, you should probably try medicating with if you don't want to do the THC, do the CBD stuff and all that.
I love CBD.
I've tried CBD recently and it did help, but never, because I've never smoked my entire life, like cigarettes, nothing, ever. And so it's one of those things like I just like, okay.
Were you nervous?
Well, I didn't smoke it. It was in a pill form that I tried at the CBD, and it did take away the migraine.
That's good.
Yeah. So can you explain to us, like, because that's what you deal with, not deal with, but I'm saying that's what you've shed some light on. And I think it's amazing. Can you tell us a little bit about that, your project? Because it's a show, correct?
Yeah, so I have a documentary series. It's called The Healing Powers of Weed, Psychedelics, and Other Mindful Practices. So it's small, mini documentary episodes, really short right now, from like 3 to 9 minutes long, where I dive into these often psychedelic tools to facilitate healing of, either physical ailments, but usually more like an emotional, mental sort. So, yeah. That's it in a nutshell.
How did you come across? Is it because of something that you knew someone that might have needed it, or is it something that you were just curious for yourself?
I was raised super religious in Las Vegas, and it was hardcore born-again Christian, and everyone in my church would go into these fits of tongues and hallelujah and like really these like big spiritual experiences, and I couldn't connect to it, and I really wanted to, and I'd pray and be like, dear God, if I'm saved and I'm not going to hell, please give me a sign and let me know. And he or she or it just never gave me a sign. And so I kind of gave up on that version of religion, and at the same time created a really like seeking nature in me. Mm-hmm. And when I was 18, I took LSD and had this massively transformative experience where I think I got a glimpse of the true nature of reality and of the universe. And it was so profound, and it really shifted how I existed in this world. I had this understanding that everything is love, and that we're all one, and we're all connected. And that sort of gave me my life's purpose. I didn't understand it then, and I had some other different psychedelic experiences that both helped heal my own emotional traumas and helped me, again, have a greater appreciation of this life. And so, that's really why I'm on this path, because I want other people to be aware of how these tools can help us live better lives, live more fulfilled lives, be more in the moment instead of stuck in our own traumas.
And I watched the episodes and they're great, very insightful. What does ayahuasca do? Ayahuasca, see?
Or psilocybin. So there's one episode on psilocybin, which is psilocybin mushrooms, magic mushrooms, with an MAOI, which is often termed huasca, which is confusing for a lot of people. It was really confusing for me until somebody was like, the guy who administers that treatment and that episode, he's like, I didn't come up with psilocybin, but this is a common term for an MAOI. And so MAOI, oh boy, let's see. I also haven't really had my coffee yet. It's basically, it allows our bodies to absorb DMT more immediately. Normally, we have a inherent blocker in our systems that won't allow it to absorb, and when we have an MAOI, it allows our bodies to absorb the DMT more readily. So what it does is it makes the magic mushrooms 4 times more powerful.
So this is Rosie talking. Don't make fun of me, but what is...
Sorry, what's that?
This is Rosie talking. This might be a dumb question, but what does DMT stand for?
What is DMT? Okay.
I know you didn't have your coffee. I just threw that at you. Dimethyltryptamine is what it is, and it's endogenous in our own brains. We have it already, and but we don't normally experience it. But when people die or have close near-death experiences, and they talk about that white light and experiencing the love and all these old memories or like experiences of family members that have already died, that's the DMT being activated. So it's like almost accessing another dimension.
It's active also it's active in mushrooms and in ayahuasca. It's actually the chacruna part of the ayahuasca experience, and and then you can just smoke it from like Mimosa hostilis, or the Sonoran desert toad has it as well.
Wow.
Yeah, there's various different ways of
So it's like pretty euphoric.
accessing it.
Like it's
pretty what?
It's a pretty like euphoric experience, you would say, like.
Generally speaking, yeah, it can go. It's an interesting. It's not like a direct euphoric. Like MDMA will give you. It is a little more of a dependable, positive, warm, heart-opening experience, whereas DMT can get a little weird at times and overwhelming. And really, I think that with DMT you have this glimpse of the true nature of the reality of the universe, and it's a lot. It can be quite overwhelming and massive, and it can also be. Sorry.
No, we said wow.
We're admiring what you're saying. That's all.
Wow. Yeah, the connection's a little like cutting, but like, you know, my experience is what comes up is that this reality we live in, this three-dimensional reality, is but like a sliver of the true nature. It's like a grain of sand in a massive ocean, beach, ocean, everything, of all the other versions of reality. And this has kind of come up for me over and over and over again, which in turn, I walk away with a lot less stress and anxiety that I place on the value of my life. Like, you know, when you're young, you're like, oh, I want to be married, I want to have kids, I want to have this amazing career, I want to do all these things, and it's got to be big like this. And then when things don't pan out the way you thought they were supposed to, potential reality, or one reality out of a gazillion, and I'm going to have plenty of other chances and other incarnations to explore all the other things. It's not that important to achieve everything in this moment, and it's created it's taken away a lot of the stress that I used to put on myself, so it's kind of awesome.
That's cool. So just so everyone's aware, because it's a over the phone conversation we have you here, where are you currently, where are you based out of, and are you there or are you traveling somewhere else at the moment?
I'm based in LA, in Echo Park, and right now I'm actually in a car in San Francisco driving next to Golden Gate Park.
Oh, nice. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah,
yeah, I like the Bay Area.
I'm not driving, for the record. You guys have my undivided attention.
No, it's okay.
You're going to say pull over if you're driving.
Yeah, be safe.
Yeah, right.
No, that's great.
When speaking about DMT, pull over, please.
Right. What out of all the episodes that you've done so far, what do you think was the most enlightening, or something that you've learned the most, or something most enlightening or scariest? Hang on one sec. We got a caller. Hang on one sec.
Sure.
Hi, caller. You're on the line. Can I get your name and where you're calling from?
This is Sean, and I'm calling from Marietta, California.
Oh, Marietta.
Hey, my parents used to live there, Sean. How's it going? You have a question?
I do have a question. Is this Rosie?
No, this is Rosie.
Hi.
Hi.
Okay, so hello.
Hi, how are you?
If you were a man, what?
I said, how are you?
Did you say... Oh, I'm great. We're doing really good. We have the perfect question, we think.
Okay, is this involving my scammer stuff?
I think he was going to say if you have So what's your question?
If you were a man for a day, what would you do?
If I were a man for a day, what would I do? I would apologize.
Good answer. There you go.
An umbrella. Yeah, apology. Yeah. And
well,
then that.
I can see that.
Yeah. Oh God, I don't know. I would pinch myself.
What would you apologize for?
Good Lord. I mean, if I were a man for a day, I think that I would already be a pretty chill guy. Like, I think I, as a woman, have all the characteristics to be a very respectful guy.
There you go.
So whatever.
What if you don't have those characteristics?
Well, she does, though.
Yeah, right?
Based on her...
Ooh, that's a whole other outcome.
Yeah.
I would just make sure I didn't catcall anyone the whole day. That would probably be my main goal.
It's actually not that hard.
And then I would call my mom and tell her that I love her and be like the best son ever.
No, seriously. Oh,
Call your mom or somebody, whoever your mother figure is. That's what I would do. And then I would follow.
I call my mom every day.
Then I would follow me on Instagram. My receipts.
There you go. Plug away.
Always plug.
What? Plug away.
Always plug, fam.
All right, Sean, thank you for calling in.
That was a good question. Thank you, Sean.
You're welcome. I love you. Bye.
Love you. Bye.
Okay, we lost our. Let's get her back on.
You already got love and support. That must be nice. What's up? Yeah, what's up?
Hello?
Hi, Mareesa. Sorry about that. We lost you there for a second. Okay, so my question, seriously.
Yeah.
So out of all the episodes that you've done, it's a two-parter, which one was the most eye-opening, like that you took something like, okay, this I wasn't expecting from this experience or that particular whatever it is that you were trying that you maybe never tried? And which one is the one that you thought, I took something away from that, but I don't think I'll ever try that again, if any?
Okay, well, for the audience, so just to give an overview, there's, I think, like 4 episodes on marijuana. When I'm shooting these episodes, I'm doing my best to stay in the realm of legality.
Right.
And there's 4 episodes of marijuana, one on the ayahuasca, one on Combo, the jungle or the Philo-Medusa tree frog in the Amazon, and what are the other? One on San Pedro. So yeah, 7 episodes altogether. And the first, let me see, the ayahuasca was probably the most profound one where I met God, and it was an incredible experience, and there was a lot I took away from that. And though I don't think I've ever done anything that that's actually not true, but I did make an episode of it. I've definitely done some psychedelics that are a little intense, but they're not very common. It was more like a drug designer created a combination of something that was quite strange and led to a lot of throwing up in not a good purging way.
Well, since you seem to be a bit of a connoisseur on this, in a good way, I was told something where there was some, I don't know why people call it drug, because it's not really, that gives it like a negative connotation or whatever, and I don't mean it that way, but someone had told me that there was something that they took that they referred to it as a third eye, because it was it put them in such a level where, are you still there?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yeah. It just sounded kind of staticky for a moment. And they said it was something that they never experienced in their life, and it's not for everyone. And the reason why it's called the third eye is because it takes you to a whole different level where, like, I guess it almost describes what you described with, how do you say it again? I don't want to say it.
DMT.
Yes.
The dimethyltryptamine. Yeah.
Does that sound right, or do you think they were describing the same thing, or were they describing something else? Have you ever heard of something called the third eye?
I've never heard of the third eye. It sounds like DMT, though.
Okay.
It sounds, But like I said, I did an episode on a guy named Dr. Z. He's a Holland-based drug designer, and he came up with Meow Meow, or otherwise known as mephedrine.
Okay.
And he puts together different things, and there's a lot of like legal drugs in Holland, for example, where it's simply like this chemical hasn't been banned, so until it gets banned, it's legal. This chemical compound. So, who knows? Maybe he created the third eye. Maybe someone else did. Maybe somebody just calls DMT the third eye. A million different possible explanations, I guess.
And now because I've seen it where originally when we were first talking, or and this was online, I saw some of the trailers that you sent me and a couple of episodes. And then later, I know you were going to meet up or connect your documentary show with Mary Jane, and you've done that. How did that come up? And then, if you can tell everyone or explain to everyone who Mary Jane, the production, is.
So let me see. I was in Panama shooting a docu-series for Viceland, Jungletown, and I ended up kind of getting sick and run down and needed to leave halfway through, and ended up going to Peru. And I had been like kind of sharing my journeys via the internet, and also sharing how psychedelics had like been a big shift for me and how they've been interesting. And so, and on this like sort of journey of healing, I was putting posts on Facebook, and a friend who happened to be the editor-in-chief of Mary Jane saw this stuff, and he was like, oh, okay, I know you're traveling, I know you're shooting stuff. We have a series called Cannabis Around the World, and you're going to India next. You want to do an episode out there? And up until that point, I had never been in front of the camera. I'd only, I'd done a lot of directing, a lot of music videos, and shooting a lot of docs, mini docs. And I was like, yeah, of course, I'd love to do an episode. Please help justify more travel by financing me as I travel, right? And letting me create content. So India is a magnificent, wild, crazy place. And it's just so, as I got there, I was like, okay, what's some interesting stories on cannabis out here? And there's actually a sect of holy men that smoke it to connect to the divine. They also rub themselves in the ashes of the dead and basically embrace everything considered bad and evil, including eating the flesh of the dead. So I got to do an episode about these guys. I tracked them down, found one at a festival at the Magh Mela in Allahabad. And I had a friend with me who had like shot skate videos like when he was 15 years old. And that was his experience of camera work, but it was just enough so that like I shot all the B-roll, I shot most of the things. And then when I was in camera, when I needed to be hosting, he shot it. But this was my first time hosting, and this episode has got like almost a couple of million hits now. It's like one of the highest ranking episodes for Mary Jane, which is, by the way, Snoop Dogg's media company, focused on elevating the conversation around marijuana. And because I did well when I came back, they were like, oh, what else you got? And I'm like, dudes, like the world is getting really curious about psychedelics, and Hamilton's Pharmacopoeia exists where we get to learn about them, but we're not really touching on the healing aspects at all. Hamilton Morris got on stage at the MAPS conference recently, was like, I'm not really interested in this so-called spiritual healing aspects. And I was like, awesome. This is all, a realm that the world really needs, and I'm not stepping on his toes. So Mary Jane at the time had a budget for creating content. They're not doing that anymore. So it was this like cool window of opportunity, and I was able to finance the creation of these like 7 episodes, and we're about to finish, and I'm hoping to actually get a second season with somebody awesome like Netflix or Amazon.
Yeah.
I'm shooting for the stars.
No, for sure, because I think it's something that should be out there. Like I said, it's interesting because I've never done anything when it comes to drugs, I guess. What they call what is it called?
Straight edge.
Straight edge.
You're a good girl.
Yeah, I guess. I guess. But yeah, straight edge is what they call it. And I'm at the age where I'm like, I'm 41. And to me, I'm like, I'm too old to even consider trying anything new. When it comes to stuff like that, like I passed that phase is how I look at it. I should introduce you to some magnificent 70-year-old women who are guiding the most healing, transformative journeys.
Oh, really? I really disagree that age is a limiting factor on this.
I agree with that as well.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure it is, because here's the thing is, like, I have relatives that are older than I am, and they were totally against it, and then they're now using it for healing purposes, like to make their pain, like literally the medical issues that they have, their pain subside, and it helps. And I've seen that help, and so I'm not against it. I'm that type of person, because you have the extremists where they're just like, no, it's bad, it's a drug, and they're really, really, really anti it. I'm not anti it, even though I've never done it. I'm not against it. I don't know what's going to happen in my life, or maybe one day I'm going to try it for medical reasons. I have no idea. That's part of my fear, is that I don't want to do it to get high. just because I don't know. I have control issues. I love having control, and
I'm the same way.
Yeah. So I don't want to do drugs to get high because I feel like I'm going to lose control. And
you could try CBD for ailments.
I did. I tried I have a friend, Kathy, who gave me CBD pills and whatnot. And so I tried it, and it did help out with my migraines.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. And I didn't feel a high. So I understand. And that's why I'm saying, like, I totally support it. And I think that's what's great about your show is because I think it's something that is an eye opener for many, even those that doubt it. Because I have my mom was totally against it, but now even though she's still against it for the same reasons she's against people getting high, she doesn't want people to get hurt, like hurting others, driving high or whatnot. That's her thing. It's just like it's more of a concern. But before she was totally against it for the healing of it. She didn't believe it worked, and now she's starting to see more of it and understand it more. And I think having your show around will be instrumental for that. I think it's important to have people watch it and either learn from it or learn that there's other ways of doing it, not just marijuana. No. Like, I didn't know that. I didn't know there's other. I mean, when I'm Peruvian, I traveled to Peru. I went to Cusco. I was trying to get over the elevation issue, the sickness that I was getting, and they gave me coca tea, which is the coca leaf, the cocaine leaf, but it's in the purest form. I didn't get high. It did help me out. And then I was okay to travel the rest of the time that I was there. So I totally understand where it comes from. Is that what you did when you were there? Did you go to Cusco or see anything like that when you were in Peru?
I did. And I've had coca leaves in Bolivia and Peru. Yeah. But, just to address your initial concern, but, the reason why these drugs were made illegal are often, politically based and racial, it was racism, basically. They were like, oh, we don't want these minorities coming into the U.S. and everybody from Mexico is smoking marijuana. Not everybody, but a lot of people are smoking marijuana. So, in the 20s, that's one of the big reasons why cannabis was made illegal. And then there's also a whole hemp conspiracy that hemp, which is is a cheaper alternative to lumber, to paper, was a threat. And so, somebody in a political position who was running the lumber yards was like, let's get rid of this threat to my, my income. Right. And let's make cannabis illegal. So that was the beginning. And then actually I think it even goes so far as opioid from China that was made illegal. And then, with Timothy Leary and the hippies, this was a threat to the American way, and all these hippies didn't want to fight in the war. And so, because that was such a threat, it was like, well, they basically just created propaganda to villainize cannabis and other drugs. So it's a propaganda machine that, all those studies that they said they had back then are debunked. None of them make sense. In fact, MDMA, and when initially discovered, was being studied because it is such a therapeutic agent. It helps, it quiets the amygdala part of the brain, the lizard fight or flight, emotional reactive part of our brains, so that we can process traumas. And it initially was, I think it was, I'm not even going to say, but I think it was 50s, 60s that it was discovered. And then it got shut down, as it was becoming a party drug more and more. And now we're finally, the MAPS organization, a nonprofit pharmaceutical company, has finally raised enough money over the last 20, 30 years to get it now to the stage 3 of the FDA trials. And it's about to be legalized to treat, especially PTSD and be used for therapy, all kinds of therapeutic purposes. So, just to give a little more context around what's going on and why we've been taught these false myths about drugs,
I think it's also a lot of big pharma. I mean, they have their hands everywhere. I mean, look, my parents are taking a lot of different medications. And each medication is to cure something else that the other medication caused. Right. So a lot of the medications that are made by the big pharmacy industry may heal a little bit of what it's for, and then cause so much damage to your body in Like, it doesn't make sense. And so to them, of course, it's a huge business. The medical industry is huge, and the pharmacy is even larger. So, they intertwine and it gets messy. That's why doctors aren't the way they used to be. There's no house calls. There's no real bedside manners when it comes to that. It's all a business. It's in and out. It's a rotating door, because it's kind of like, okay, who's next? How are we going to make money off of this patient? What can we offer this patient? And they get bonuses and whatnot. So of course, if you offer them something that is legitly going to help them and could potentially find a cure, they're not going to offer that, because then it ends a disease. Why would they want to do that when they want the business to keep going? So a lot of it is on money, and I think big pharma has to do with that. And the politicians get paid by them, and it's an ongoing thing, and that's why they're going to make it look bad. Like, if you're doing this, I mean, look how long it took for them to make medical marijuana legal.
Yeah.
And even that is still a fighting, like an uphill battle, because they're still trying to say, like, there's still more cons than pros, which there isn't.
Right.
I always laugh.
Really not. There's 2 episodes I have. One about a club of seniors in Oakland, the Oakland Social Senior Citizen Cannabis Club, and then the other is about the Weed for Warriors organization. And both of these are basically clubs and groups of people that are fighting to educate each other, or not fighting, but they're creating awareness around the benefits of cannabis, and also how cannabis can replace so many of these pharmaceuticals. With the Weed for Warriors, it's like the vets are coming out of duty, and they're getting overprescribed 16 to 22 pharmaceuticals, and the suicide rate is 22 vets a day post duty, and it's like cannabis is helping and relief. Like, they are getting off so many of these medications and no longer suicidal when they start using cannabis.
Yeah.
And for the seniors, they are also replacing pharmaceuticals that are, leaving them with so many side effects that they're not really able to feel good enough to spend time with family or be productive. And they're replacing it with cannabis. So, yeah, it's a big threat to the pharmaceutical companies.
It's funny you bring that up. So I had that CBD pill, and I took it, and I noticed that it was working for me. I gave it to one of my friends, and she took it for her headache, and she was like, wow, like, it's gone. And it was like a couple minutes that it only passed. She was like, I don't know what that was, but that was amazing. And my mom was going through a lot of stress, and I gave her one, and I told her, oh, this is just for stress or whatever. She took it, and she was fine. And then later she's like, what did you give me? Because she's the one that's so anti that, Yeah. And I'm thinking, like, out of everyone that I know in my life, she's definitely someone that I would like to encourage for her to try alternatives, especially because she's so sick and tired of all the pills that she's taking. I want to say she's taking more than 10 medications a day. Wow. Yeah. And her health is not getting any better. And I feel that if she takes something that's more of a natural base, I think it's going to help her out tremendously. And I think it might eliminate over half of what she's already taking. But it's kind of difficult.
Show her that episode. And I have a nurse she can talk to, where she can consult with an expert RN nurse who can say, okay, yeah, this cannabis can replace this thing, and you're not going to have problems if you take this pharmaceutical and remove it. This one, however, you need, so they can, like, help navigate that world of what can be replaced and what needs to stay.
Even with people that are so close-minded, like my mom, who I love very much, she's listening right now. So it's like,
hi, Mom.
Right?
Send her the episode of the seniors, and then, like, one of the nurses there, she's happy to take calls and talk to people who are in this position.
Okay, hang on. We got a call. One sec. Hi, caller. You're on the line. Can I get your name and where you're calling from?
Yes, my name is Jay, calling from Texas.
Okay, hi, Jay. What's your question?
I was going to ask Rosie, when would she be having another scam live on Facebook?
Oh, that's a good question. I can do one this week for you if you want to. I've been craving doing another one. Can you hear me?
Yes. That's. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry?
Are you? Can you hear me?
Yes, I'm hearing you, but then I got the earphones, so I don't know. It's kind of like confusing.
Oh, okay.
But
yeah, I'll be doing. If you enjoyed that, I'm gonna do a few more of those. I'll probably do one, yeah, sometime this week, for sure.
Okay, we'll be looking forward to it because they're really, really great. I like the way you string them along, and they keep, trying to get you to put out the money or whatever they're looking to scam, but you're just playing them along. It was really enjoyable to hear.
I love to waste their time.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it.
What I was going to ask you also, do they call you or do you call them somehow?
It's like 50-50. If I don't hear from anyone, I'll go to a list and just as a pastime, just I have a gold mine of all these numbers, and I have a friend who gives me a lot of the numbers too. If one of them maybe called their mom or something, and they're like, "Go get them, Rosie," and so, and then sometimes I look for them because that's what they get. So,
That's awesome.
So yeah, it's 50-50.
All right, well that's cool. Keep up the good work.
Thank you. I'll see you on my live video. Leave a comment.
All right.
All right.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Jay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
That's too funny. Let's get her back on the line here. No, you're good. So what are you guys thinking so far? You guys have any questions for Mareesa?
Maresa?
I do.
No, go ahead.
Hi, we're back.
Did you guys get a call?
Yeah, we got a call. It's weird that it does that. It shouldn't disconnect. We should be able to have multiple calls at the same time. So Rosie here has a question for you.
Yeah, I wanted to ask
Rosie.
you, I've heard a lot about microdosing, especially with magic mushrooms. And I've heard that microdosing, you don't actually experience any kind of trip, but that it helps to, it helps a lot with depression and anxiety. I just wanted to know what you know about microdosing and the benefits of that.
So my own personal experiences are somewhat limited. Microdosing LSD is kind of the buzzword right now, and I haven't heard, well, let's see. There's a little bit about it helping with depression. Psilocybin, microdosing psilocybin seems to be a bit more towards depression. It's just, taking a small dose that's so small that you're not actually feeling the physical effects of it, and it's kind of helping optimize the system. LSD allows the different hemispheres of the brain to communicate with each other, which is something you can only otherwise get in Kundalini or deep meditation. So, if we're helping activate more communication in the brain, that's definitely a positive. There's not as much research out there as we'd like there to be, and this is the case with pretty much all of the benefits of all these drugs.
Right.
Or medicines or tools, however you want to refer to them. I do think it's an excellent way to kind of dip your feet into this world and learn more about it. Actually, this Paul Austin, the creator of the Third Wave, it's THIRD Wave, is an excellent resource to learn more about this. He's actually got workshops and lots of articles on his website.
Yeah, I've definitely been
teach
interested.
and instruct and inform.
Cool.
What's that?
I said, yeah, I've definitely been interested in that because I take a couple medications for anxiety and depression and stuff like that, but I've heard about microdosing, and it's something I'd want to know a lot about before I try. So, yeah, that'd be cool. I'm going to try to educate myself. It's a great resource.
The other thing is Syrian rue is an MAOI, which also is a natural occurring antidepressant that has very little effects that will alter your state. It's kind of just like a calming, almost similar to CBD that just kind of calms and relaxes the system, and is a natural antidepressant. So I would look up Syrian rue as well.
Wow, thank you.
I think you can buy it in a Persian stores, and they burn it as incense.
Oh, interesting.
Herb. So.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
So this is what's great about filmmaking is that we're able to delve into different types of different worlds, I guess, if you will. And it's usually things that we normally don't consider or don't know it exist. So I'm really glad that you were inspired enough to do this, and that Mary Jane gave you the opportunity to do so. And I'm hoping that you do get picked up or by someone like Netflix, because like I said, I think it's extremely important to get out there, and I like to see I like to see it more and more, the the half hour if possible. Because I think
that's the goal.
Yeah, because I think you can really get into it more. You could really dig deeper, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. I would really my goal is to do half hour to 45-minute long episodes where I have some of my own personal issues that I've been happy to share on camera, where it's hey, I deal with anxiety, my mind loops, and here's how ayahuasca helps me have more faith in the universe and how that helps address my anxiety. But it is a 6-minute episode. It's really very quick. It's more like a trailer than anything.
Right.
But later on, ideally, I'd be making episodes where we get to track other people who are a little more in a crisis state, and follow their before, during, and after. And if that particular medicine happens to be something that I'm wanting to do and I have a relevant side story, then that can be a little, B story. Mm-hmm. But I really want to show how these medicines are helping transform people's emotional trauma, helping them release it, and helping, it's we think, oh, it's too bad that you have all this trauma, but really it's an interesting thing. If you can look at it in a different view, you can say, you have all this trauma, and basically once you get through it, you go, my God, that made me so much stronger, and that helped create me into this person who I am, and now I have all this purpose because of it. It is, and without that obstacle in your life, you wouldn't have gone on this journey. So, these medicines help enable that, and it's really actually something to, I think, going through these emotional processes is something to be celebrated. It's really quite wonderful.
No, absolutely.
I want more people to know about it. I want them to see it's huge. People who have been depressed for years and years will do ayahuasca for, they'll do a diet in the jungle with different plants and then do ayahuasca once or twice a week for a few weeks. I have a friend, she had a massive eating disorder. It was so bad, and her depression and her anxiety was so bad that she had to actually make daily visits into the hospital to simply survive. And this had gone on for years and years. She was 40 pounds underweight. Wow. And her life was just, wasn't functioning in any way. And then after this jungle stay, she was completely healed. It was like a month in the jungle,
Wow. And was that in Brazil?
That was in Peru, near Quito.
Oh, okay. Yeah, because I've heard someone
Dona Atilia, for anyone who knows.
There you go.
What's that?
No, I've heard someone do that, but in Brazil. So that's why I asked.
Yeah, the ayahuasca centers are all over Peru, Ecuador, Bolivia, Brazil. There's also a lot in Central America as well. They're beginning to spread out more and more.
And
Hawaii, yeah.
How did you get into, just briefly, how did you start getting into filmmaking? Because I know that's where it started from before you got into this series.
It's so funny. I had to actually fill out, when you sign up online for different bank accounts or whatever, they're like, what's your question to, a security question. And one of them was what did you want to be when you were a kid? What was the adult job you wanted to have? And I wanted to be an actress.
Mm.
And I went into theater, and I realized I was actually really bad at being something that wasn't me. If I didn't agree with the character's ideology, I was horrible at it, right?
Right.
And so, but I did really like directing. And so I started directing plays in high school, and then went to college, and my parents were very anti arts. They were like, come on, you're not going to make a living at that. What are you doing?
Conservative, yeah.
And so I tried. What's that?
I said that's usually a conservative standpoint, the thought. It just is go into a career that's more of a successful basis, where you can make money, and be stable.
Exactly. Yeah, you know what I mean? What parent doesn't want their kids to be stable and
right.
and do good, So, I'm all for it, but my path was definitely that didn't work. I got really depressed while I was going to school, and I was like, this sucks. I can't even, I don't know what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. And I did some traveling, and I had a grand epiphany where I was like, I should do film. And I'm not a massive film buff. I know some great filmmakers. I love films, but I'm not one of those people who watches films over and over again. However, it is such the most incredible medium that allows for everything to be involved, music and obviously visual arts, collage style, aesthetics. And so this epiphany came to me out of nowhere, and I just knew immediately that was what I needed to dive into. And so I did. I went to San Francisco State, studied there, knew I wanted to direct, and did a bunch of music videos, and then got a DSLR, which enabled shooting, and then I started filming docs. So, now it's interesting because now I'm shooting docs that if you watch the Ayahuasca episode, it's kind of, there's moments where I dive into what I was seeing visually, and we have this collage animated sequence that's kind of trippy and wild, and I'm like, oh cool, I get to bring in some of the aesthetics of like my old music videos.
That's
and
awesome.
Ultimately, I think it's going to become a nice hybrid of both worlds, documentary and all the crazy. My music videos are pretty weird and
where can we find the
magical? So
where can we
imaginative.
find the music videos?
Yeah, where could we find the music
I'd
videos?
love to see that.
Oh yeah, they're on my website is probably the best way. I did a really great one, or like one that went kind of far for Family of the Year. God, I can't remember what the name of it was now. Psych.sound or something like that. But on my website, theseeingmachine.com, SEEING machine.com.
Okay.
You can find it. And I guess while I'm blasting, The Healing Powers is the name of the docu-series. They're actually both on the same website, but that's, TheHealing, Powers, POWERS.com.
Nice.
Is where you can find all the episodes of my show.
That's great.
Actually, one more episode's coming out next week, so it's the last one. It's not up yet.
Okay. And then they could also find it on YouTube, correct? On
maryjane.com/Healing Powers.
Very cool. Very cool. All right. And do you have any advice for anyone that's listening that's trying to get into this or with the medical aspect of it, the healing part?
So everything's not legal yet in the U.S. And let me see.
Everyone get your passport.
I'm trying to think what would be the.
Passports.
I think basically, if you want to learn more about this, look up a psychedelic society in your city or a city nearby, and start attending the meetings and learn about these, because these meetings have like researchers or filmmakers or therapists, and just, it's introducing the different ways these things work with usually experts speaking. And so basically, let's inform ourselves, let's create awareness about these tools so that we can start voting to change legislation so that the research can finally exist. And for the record, these are a lot of these tools have been used for thousands and thousands of years indigenously. So it's like, I think I should add one more thing. If people have a history of schizophrenia, bipolar, any sort of mental issues like this, a lot of these psychedelics are not recommended. And unless you have a facilitator or a guide to help you do it, who knows what they're talking about. But basically, this kind of information isn't out there because it's all just illegal. And I think once there's more awareness and we start demanding access to these tools, the research will get there and people can be more informed. So join your local psychedelic society.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. I really do appreciate it. I'm going to be connecting with you afterwards because I would like to talk to you about more of the show and trying to see how to help you get to the next level. Because I think, like I said, I'm really into that, and I think it's something that needs to be out there. So,
yay!
Yeah,
Thank you.
no, for sure. Thank you so much. Okay, you have a good rest of your day.
Nice meeting you all. Thanks for listening.
Bye, Maresa. Nice meeting you.
Bye, Rosie. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Rosie,
Yo.
let's get into this real quick before we end the show. Tell us how you got started with this Instagram.
Okay, well, there's a lot of reasons that I do what I do. Mainly, my mom has been scammed before with the computer type thing where there's like a fake pop-up. Sorry, Mom, I'm totally outing you. She's not good with computers, clearly, so she's probably not even listening to this now. But she got one of those pop-up scams on like Windows that was like, you have a virus, call this number.
Oh, I hate those.
To help us remove it.
I hate those too. Yeah.
It looks really legit because it's got like the graphics. It's got like the Windows thing on it, and it's got this phone number.
But just one click and that's it.
Yeah, it's like, oh, we want to help you. And so my mom was like, oh, great, I have a virus. Crap. Like, I'll call these people. And they answer, and there's a ton of people working in these quote unquote offices
Right.
that are helping, like these tech support offices. You know, you hear phones ringing in the background and people talking. So when you call, you're not like, oh, this is some weird person in their basement calling me. This isn't legit. When you call, it sounds like a busy place helping people. I know, because I call them all the time for fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, it happened to my mom, and she called in and was like, hey, like, I just want to get this virus off. And, you know, she's like this sweet Southern lady that's like, I just need help. Like, what am I doing?
No.
And they're like, oh, great. What's your name? Type in your name. And like, I'll give you my employee ID code that you put in and we'll go through the process.
And she actually did it?
Yeah. And as soon as you put in that code, it starts downloading this thing that gives these people complete access to your computer.
Yeah, it's scary shit.
So yeah, so that happens. And it's like, I mean, my mom's got like cat pictures and like gem drop on her computer. It's not like she has anything crazy passwords or whatever.
But it's more the credit card stuff.
Yeah, and so they're like, okay, well, it's like a $400 thing for the year. Like, we'll just need your credit card info, and then we'll be able to monitor your computer for the rest of the year. Wow. And so, you know, she was just like stressed in the moment of like, oh, I just want to get this off my computer. I don't know what it's doing. That she just gave the information away. And like looking back, anyone's like, how could it be so stupid?
No, it happens though. Yeah.
Kind of in the moment, you just like, oh, you're stressed. And like, my mom hates dealing with stuff on the computer, so she just wants to get rid of it.
Yeah.
So that, like, hearing that, I was like, these people, man, like, the bank was able to reverse the payment and everything, and she changed her cards, but it was such a headache. And like, my mom's sweet, and it made me mad. And I was like, you know what? Like, I'm going to find these people and waste their time and take up as much time as I can so that they're not doing this to someone who doesn't know better.
Yeah.
So that's kind of one of the things I do is like scamming the scammer and turning the tables and confusing them and frustrating them. And I did this live video like with like this Kim Kardashian voice, and I was calling in. I need help with my hard drive and my motherboard. And so I was like using this, like, you know, I use my voice actor like.
That's what I was gonna say.
Like,
so in case you're listening, you don't know, Rosie isn't a voice actress. So
I've got lots of weird voices, but yeah. So I'll make sure like, and it's weird. I take it really seriously. Like I get into character.
Yeah.
Like I'll make myself a smoothie, and then like I'll sit at my computer, and I'll even like, I noticed watching the live video that I took that I was like flipping my hair. And, like,
you get really into it.
Really into it because you're like, you know, you can't lose, you can't fall out of character. So yeah, I have fun doing that a lot. And then, you know, being a woman with social media, I get randoms in the DMs.
Oh, they always come in the DMs.
They always slide in those DMs.
Seriously.
And some of them are just like beyond obnoxious.
I've seen some of them, and it's weird because you want to think, or you want to hope like this can't be real.
A lot of people think that I'm on Tinder and I'm getting this on Tinder, and they're like, oh, well, that makes sense because she's on a dating site and these guys are like trying to be fresh with her. Again, that's not an excuse to ever send those messages just because it's on a platform of like, maybe like we'll hook up one day. Like that's still not okay. No. You know, but I'll get like dick pics and like out of nowhere.
See, here's my thing with the whole dick pic thing. You're that guy that you don't realize, but you're literally a flasher. Yeah, you're that guy in a trench coat that goes to somewhere. It's the same thing. You're an internet flasher.
Yeah, and that's like, you know, you could be like on the like, what is it, sex offender list?
Yeah, seriously.
In purpose,
no, if someone asks for it, that's different. You know what I'm saying? Like if I'm like, oh, show me or whatever, you know, that's different. But if you're not asking for it and you're just like, because like you're not expecting that.
Dick pics,
it's the worst thing because you're like opening, you're like, what the hell? Like I thought it was like, literally just a text message.
The bizarre thing is like, there's no way that's ever worked.
No.
Like, oh, wow, nice, weird looking dick. Can I call you? What's your number? Like, no. Like, so that always pissed me off. And when they send me that, you know, I click on the photo because I'm crazy. I just have to. It's like I just have to see it. Like I don't want to see it, but I'm like, because I know it's going to be a dick pic, and that's how I respond. You know, so I open it and like I've responded with like, why did you just send me a picture of a dead squirrel? Like I'll respond with like, what's the last thing a dude would want their dick to look like? Right. Like that's what I'm like. Why did you send me a picture of a rabid raccoon?
Right.
And they'll be like, what? And I'll be like, yeah, that's. You should get that looked at. Like, you know, I try to insult it, or you know, I know a couple of women who have gone so far as to do some real digging, and they find the guy's moms and sisters on Facebook.
Yeah.
And they'll be like, just so you know, this is what your son is up to.
Wow.
Yeah. It's like,
Ouch.
Shout out to Emily.
Lesson learned.
Shout out to Emily Sears if you're listening.
you
I
go.
commend you because that's some real good digging, and that's like the ultimate. Like, no, that wasn't me. Like humiliating them is just feels so
Payback's a
good.
motherfucker.
Yeah, it
It
is.
sure is.
It is.
So yeah, I guess I just started doing that because it just was so fun to make stupid people feel stupid. Like it just became a lifestyle.
No,
like
well, thank you for doing that.
Yeah.
And again, tell us what the Instagram is, where they can find it.
it's receipts. So spelled like receipts, but the first E is an O.
Perfect. Awesome.
Yeah.
So that's our show for today. Thank you everyone for listening. Brendan, thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me again.
Mareesa
Stertz.
Mareesa
Mareesa Stertz. Leslie, yes, that's seriously, check her out. She's amazing. I highly recommend it. Go to her website. Thank you for being on the show today. Rosie, you got to come back. We got to keep doing this. Like seriously, Rosie, you got to be like a regular. I love having you here.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So everyone, please have a great, safe Sunday.
Love you guys. Bye.
You're listening to Female Filmmakers Fuse with Alexa Polar, only on LA Talk Radio.